Mr. President, as a fellow member of the Judiciary Committee, along with my colleague from Texas who just spoke, it is not our job as members of this committee to cast aspersions on the motives of those of us who ask probing questions of judicial nominees for lifetime positions. Many of these nominees have very strongly held and long-held views on a number of issues that may come before them as judges, and the probing questions that we ask go to whether or not they can separate their ideological and personal views from when they are confronted with the issues that they have taken public positions on, and whether they can be fair and objective and follow the rule of law. That is the kind of probing questions that we ask, and I hope that when my friend from Texas mentioned that some of us seem to, or many of us on this side of the aisle, will not vote for any nominee from this president, I certainly hope he wasn't referring to me, because I have, in fact, voted for a number of those nominees. Having clarified that, Mr. President, I want to talk about the Natural Resources Management Act that is coming before us. This is a great example of what the Senate can accomplish when we come together on a bipartisan basis to get things done. Although we certainly have disagreements on energy and climate policy, a broad bipartisan consensus supports strengthening and expanding conservation programs like the Land and Water Conservation Fund, better known as LWCF, a program whose transformative impact is felt in every state in the country. Over the past 50 years, the LWCS has provided nearly $250 million in funding for Hawaii to protect some of our most cherished public spaces, including Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, Hanalei National Wildlife Refuge, and the Alakahakai National Historic Trail. LWCF funding has also gone toward protecting state and private forests, as well as efforts to protect our native species and watersheds. I saw the benefits firsthand last April when I joined Keith Unger and his family for a blessing ceremony to mark the sale of the McCandless Ranch to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Financed through the LWCF, the $22 million purchase significantly expanded the Hakalau Forest National Wildlife Refuge on Hawaii Island. After a slow 45-minute ascent up the slopes of Mauna Loa, I saw a beautiful property that the McCandless family had faithfully stewarded over 6 generations and 100 years. According to Keith, the property's forests, quoting him, represents some of the most intact and pristine native forests in the state and provide habitat to many of Hawaii's unique flora and fauna, end quote. During the time I spent with Keith and his family, their passion for the land and the plant and animal species that call it home was quite evident. Keith shared his family's efforts to conserve and rehabilitate the alala, the critically endangered Hawaiian crow. The McCandless Ranch was the last place the alala was seen in the wild. In the late 1990s, the McCandless Ranch entered into a conservation partnership with the Fish and Wildlife Service to protect the alala. And when Keith decided to sell the portion of his land years ago, he wanted to find what he called, quoting him, a like-minded buyer, someone who would continue our legacy of conservation and well-managed forests. This was easier said than done. The majority of our buyer prospects were loggers or developers, end quote. Keith and McCandless Ranch began talking with the Fish and Wildlife Service about selling a portion of their property to add to the National Wildlife Refuge. Through his past experience working with the agency, he knew that their conservation philosophy aligned with theirs. The Fish and Wildlife Service began seeking money to acquire the property in 2011 and made it their top priority for acquisition in the Pacific region for fiscal years 2013 through 2015. Funding to acquire the McCandless Ranch became possible because of the collaborative work to develop the state of Hawaii's Island Program Forests at Risk proposal. Developed through engagement with a wide range of stakeholders, Island Forests at Risk was a comprehensive proposal to protect endangered or threatened species, safeguard water resources, improve ecosystems, and preserve Native Hawaiian cultural resources. This proposal included a number of land acquisitions to add to existing national parks and wildlife refuges in Hawaii, including the McCandless Ranch addition to Hakalau. In addition to federal land management agencies like the National Park Service, the Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Forest Service, the Island Forest at Risk incorporated input and perspectives from Hawaii state agencies like the Department of Land and Natural Resources, local organizations such as the Nature Conservancy Hawaii and the Trust for Public Lands, and local landowners such as Keith Unger with the McCandless Ranch. Beginning in fiscal year 2016, after many meetings between myself and the principals overseeing the LWCF proposals, Hawaii's land acquisition within Island Forests at Risk began to receive federal funding. Between fiscal years 2016 and 2018, nearly $40 million was awarded to acquire land to add to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, Haleakala National Park, and Hakalau Forest National Wildlife Refuge. In addition to facilitating the purchase of land such as the McCandless Ranch, the LWCF also funds the Fish and Wildlife Service's Cooperative Endangered Species Conservation Fund. In Hawaii, we have over 500 threatened and endangered species, more than any other state. 500 threatened and endangered species. 1/3 of all endangered birds in the United States are found in Hawaii. LWCF funds are essential for protecting and reintroducing these species, including the alala. The LWCF also funds the Forest Legacy Program, which helps the states and private owners protect and enhance forest habitats. The program has leveraged over $22 million of federal funding for Hawaii's forests over the past 50 years. Most recently, the Forest Legacy Program helped facilitate the acquisition of the Helema'a Wilderness Area on Oahu. This land includes high-quality native forest that is home to the endangered Hawaiian hoary bat and a watershed that is a primary source of drinking water for 1/3 of the people on Oahu. Program funding will facilitate invasive species removal and reforestation. It will also help public access to hunting and camping areas which are limited on Oahu. And Oahu is the island in which the majority of the people in Hawaii live. 80% of the people live on Oahu. Forest protection and conservation is particularly important as we face the threat of catastrophic climate change. Protecting these lands and forests can help mitigate climate change by absorbing carbon dioxide, cooling the earth, and regenerating our watersheds. Aside from helping mitigate climate change, the LWCF provides numerous downstream benefits to local economies. In 2003, for example, the LWCF funded the $22 million addition to Kahuku Ranch to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, almost doubling the park's size. Hawaii Volcanoes National Park is a pillar of our tourism economy in Hawaii. It contributes nearly $500,000 every day, or $166 million annually to the economy, and attracts approximately 2 million visitors per year. That is just one park, the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Aside from the LWCF, Hawaii Volcanoes National Park has also benefited from programs and organizations like Kupu that educate and inspire young people to become stewards of our national natural resources. Kupu provides hands-on training for youth in the areas of conservation, sustainability, and environmental education. It has also placed youth workers within various units of the national park system in Hawaii to conduct trail repair, vegetation management, interpretation, etc. The 21st Century Conservation Service Corps bill, included in the Natural Resources Management Act that will come before us, supports programs like Kupu that seek to nurture the next generation of environmental stewards. In testimony before the Energy and Natural Resources Committee in last Congress, Kupu CEO John Leong spoke to the transformative impact of participating in a conservation program. He cited 2 inspiring examples of Corps members who have gone on to do meaningful work in the environmental and conservation space. He shared the story of John Brito from Molokai, who was awarded the White House Champion of Change Award in the years following his participation in Kupu programming, who has since chosen a career in conservation. Another Kupu Corps participant, Justine Espirito, recently helped to launch Honolulu's popular and revolutionary Biki Bike Share. More adults in Hawaii and across the country will have their own transformative experiences if we pass this legislation. The Natural Resources Management Act also includes legislation Senators Murkowski, Cantwell, and I passed last Congress to improve our country's capacity to monitor and respond to volcanic activity across the country. Last year, the Hawaii Volcano Observatory, HVO, was instrumental in studying and responding to the 3-month-long eruption of Kilauea on the Big Island. The eruption devastated a number of communities, destroying more than 700 homes and displacing thousands of people, including United States Geological Survey staff and scientists who operated out of the HVO facility in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Over the coming months and years, impacted homes, farms, and even the observatory will need to be rebuilt. At the same time, it will be critically important to have the most updated monitoring and communications technology to alert and protect impacted communities from future events. Our legislation will unify and connect the Hawaii Volcano Observatory with the other 4 observatories across the country into one national volcano early warning system. It will also create a Volcano Watch office that will operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to provide continuous situational awareness of all active volcanoes in the United States and its territories, including Kilauea and Mauna Loa volcanoes on Hawaii Island. Our legislation will also create a grant program for the research and development of emerging technologies for volcano monitoring. Mr. President, during yesterday's cloture vote, the Natural Resources Management Act earned the support of 99 out of 100 senators. I don't know what happened to that lone senator, but we need to bring that person in. I am eager to vote on its final passage as soon as possible. Mr. President, I yield the floor.